The interesting thing about blacksmithing is that most people have no perception of it. It's like witchcraft. It seems like an impossible thing, and I myself couldn't conceive how to execute the job even after the job was sold and confirmed. It was just a thought in our mind. It was just an idea, just a dream. And somehow you figure out how to make that dream come true. So this is a railing that I'm doing for a customer's entranceway for their front door of their house. Here I have my AutoCAD drawing where I have all the lengths and the angles and the turns and everything that I have to make. I have to make a diagram and a drawing for everything because most of this work has to be done in shop because of all the heating and the hammering and bending and everything. It's kind of like more of a sculpture piece than it is a railing. Here I'm laying out the drawing on the table. I'm having to draw everything out as it sits. I have to give myself something to go by based on the drawing, based on the dimensions. I have a big table. This table weighs about 3,000 pounds. I'm getting all the main posts and everything cut. A lot of these cuts are actually shorter than what I need because as I forge them and taper them, they get much longer. And you wind up having to trim them anyway. So even though they're cut short, they're going to wind up being longer. Here they are in the forge. These are the post legs. This is about 2,000 degrees. It can be anywhere from about 16 to 22, depending on how hot. I like to get these big pieces real hot. This is 1.5 inch round. It's really heavy and hard to work with. Does not want to bend for you. You got to hit it lots of times. A lot of times I order this stuff from steel shops or something, or have it drop shipped to another fab shop in the area, and I go pick it up there, and when I tell people what I'm doing with it, they just kind of tell me I'm crazy. This is a stump I got from my dad's house in the mountains in Virginia that I'm hammering everything out on. It's good for shaping. This is my forging press that I made. It presses at 20 tons and it's helping me taper these pickets. This tapered out, and now I'm putting that curve in for the pickets. You'll see on the drawing on the table what it looks like, what the design is. But I left the hammer marks in because I love the texture. You don't usually get to see texture on metal these days. So of course I try to batter it up as much as possible because it's a look that's fairly rare and I think is very artistic. There are all my pickets that are going in this railing. They all match the design, they all match the angle, they match everything that I have drawn out on the table. This is part of the post that's down on the ground. And this is a piece of 3/4 inch round that's going to be speared through the 1.5 inch round. So later I'm going to actually punch and drift and spear that smaller piece through the bigger piece. I bring the torch out to do some refining. It's really important that this angle is correct. If the angle is off even 1/2 degree, it throws everything off by inches when you get to the top of the stairs. So you just have to go slow and take your time and make sure that everything is at the right angle. So this is the bigger post. This is actually the structural part of the post, and I'm tapering it. One of the legs, they're actually going to be concreted into the ground. This stuff doesn't look very big on camera, but it's huge. It's massive, and it takes a long time to forge. My forging press is making quick work of this, and it's not even pressing at full strength, because sometimes if you go too much, it can squeeze more than you want. Sometimes even squeeze your piece in half. And there are the legs tapered out, left and right side. There's a Damascus knife billet that I threw in the forge at the same time as those legs. I have to run water over the ends of these because the end gets so hot it's too hot to handle. One of the reasons why I like to use this forging stump is you can get more of an even flow out of your bends and out of your curvature. Sometimes if you hammer on an anvil or hammer a different way, you can start to develop flat spots, which can be difficult on this larger stuff because the heat wants to be more localized. It's a little harder to work with than a heat that spans across the whole piece, and you can bend it with more of an even flow. There's the leg curving around, and now I have to switch it back the other way. This piece wants to keep distorting on you, so once you set the leg and you have the angle of the leg where you like it, and then you try to work on the top side, sometimes it wants to change the angle of what you just worked on. So you kind of have to do a little bit and correct, and do a little bit more and correct. So here's where it starts to get fun. I'm doing a punch and drift so I can spear that other smaller piece through this leg. And I'm using a special punch here, one that won't distort and dull as I'm chiseling through this 1.5 inch round. This looks like a daunting task, but if you just be patient, you will chisel through that. So here's an interesting fact. If you actually get water down in that hole as you're dunking that chisel, when you smack it, it'll actually go off like a gunshot when you get that water down there trapped between the punch and the piece you're trying to go through. And it'll actually splatter back in your face and actually kind of hurt sometimes. Almost all the way through. I got this hole a little off center. I try to center it a little bit later. This is extra difficult to punch because I'm having to punch this at an angle so that it can go up the stairs.
Made it! Woo!
That is a 3/4 inch round hole. Let's see if it fits. And there we go, little by little. This is another component at the top of the stairs where it actually has to turn right and terminate into a brick wall. So I have a little trick that I do when I have to weld these joints together. These things are too long and too heavy to handle as one piece and too complex to move and make it act right. So you usually have to join it together. These are posts for the top, and I have a special little design where I'm going to split these and I'm going to hammer them out, and I'm going to make them wrap around the top rail. You kind of have to fold one end out of the way, and then when you're finished working on that side, you have to fold that one out of the way and then work on the other one. Punching this piece as well so that that second horizontal rail that's going up the stairs can look like it's a continuous piece that grows out of the ground and terminates into the wall. This is my angle for the piece that needs to go down the stairs. I usually tell the customer there are absolutely no welds on this thing, but I do hide welds just to ensure the structural integrity. So I'm going to wrap this leaf around the top of this rail and kind of make it look like it's holding on to it. I went through so many bottles of torch gas and forge gas, but mainly torch gas. I can't even count how many bottles I've gone through. This is the second horizontal underneath the top rail, and instead of piercing this one through, I chose to do a wrap because it has to do a tight 90-degree turn at the top of the stairs instead of like a slow bend like on the other side. Those angles have to be correct. So one angle is straight, it's on top of the porch, and the other angle is down 30-something degrees to go down the stairs. Here is the final assembly of one of the posts. This piece was really difficult because it has to flare out. The customer didn't want the rails to come down the stairs and just terminate into the ground straight. She wanted a big, grand flare out. These are collars that I'm putting around here. I textured them. Of course, they're joined with weld, but they're made to look like the collar is what's joining them. Back in the old days, this is how they actually would join something. This is one of the wall mounting plates. I textured the mounting plates, and I'm going to cut these holes out. And instead of welding the piece, I'm going to do a press fit. So I'm actually going to press fit my railing into these mounting plates, and I'm going to weld on the back side and hide the weld. Those are the mounting holes for the anchors. So this is an interesting little bit. I am actually making handmade nails that are very long. I guess they're about 4 or 5 inches long, and they're pretty thick. They're about 1/2 inch thick. Some of them are 3/8, depending on what I'm doing with them. But I'm pointing the end. Instead of putting anchor bolts or hammer sets or something into the concrete wall, I actually have a method of joining things with these handmade nails or rivets, and it just gives it that really authentic medieval look. I'm hammering over the nail head in my little jig right here. You would be surprised at how tight these things actually get when you're joining them into concrete or wood or whatever. I did not use a single bolt or screw on this railing. Everything is made to look completely authentic. And that's what they look like. It's a gorgeous extra touch of joinery. My favorite finish is a wire brush and clear coat finish on this stuff. You have so much texture and so many highlights, and that wire brush finish and that clear coat just makes everything really pop. I usually will never paint something because it completely takes away from the sculpture and the texture. And sometimes after you paint it, it can start looking cheap. It is install day. One of the pieces terminating into the wall. We had a lot to overcome here, and it was kind of hard to film, but you can kind of see what we're doing here. Here I'm correcting the angle of this bend. Down at the bottom there, you can see that we have dug a post hole, set that post assembly in, and then filled it in with concrete. Now I can actually join the top rail of that railing together. Here's the second horizontal. So I got that right side in, and I have put the pickets in and welded them on, and I'm doing a collar wrap on those as well, just like you saw earlier, to hide the welds and make it look like traditional joinery. I had to mark those out on the stairs where they go so that I could make sure that they were spaced evenly.
Alright, now I need you to put that down and help me.
And now we're working on the left side, drilling into the wall for the mounting plate. I usually try to hit the mortar joints, but sometimes it doesn't always work out. I have some special anchoring cement that I put in those holes that holds those anchors in. It's very, very strong stuff. It's impossible to pull them out.
Could be. We can break it out with a hammer.
Correcting the angles of these pieces. So this is the final bit aside from the finish. I'm putting in these last bit of pickets, and you can see where I'm leveling them, welding them in place, and you can see the plate down at the bottom. I'm also going to mount those as well with rivets. So those I just drilled into the deck board and just hammered them in, literally just like a nail, because that's what they are, they're nails. All in all, this install took about 3-4 days maybe. It was a tedious process, but I think we can call it a success. Here is the final railing after installation and finish, and there will be no one else on the planet that has one just like this. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Colt Coates, and I'll see you on the next project.